All right, we're in video number 9, and we're talking about the blood that has been shed by Jerusalem, the great whore of Revelation 17 and 18, Jeremiah 50 and 51. But in Jeremiah 51, verse 35 through 37, he's basically saying, let the blood be upon Babylon. And one of the characteristics that we'll look at later on, which I have many, we'll cover the most important ones of this great whore, but one of them is she has titles or names spiritually of other nations. She carries Sodom and Egypt, as we see in Revelation 10 and 11, where our Master Yeshua was crucified, the two witnesses where they were killed and martyred. She holds Babylon, she holds Egypt, Sodom, which we mentioned. She holds Nineveh. She holds all these other titles or names of other nations because she has become like them. Judah went into Babylon and came back with a lot of paganism. The calendar is one proof of that. The name Tammuz for the 4th month of the Hebrew calendar. Tammuz was a pagan deity. That is not part of Yahweh's calendar. Nisan and Tishri, the 7th month, when it's called Ethanim in the scriptures. A lot of paganism was taken back by Jerusalem after the Babylonian captivity. Persia, Rome, Greece, another one, where Jerusalem became so Hellenized through Alexander the Great's conquering of the world in 333 BC that they still hold a lot of customs and paganistic practices that the Greeks held. One's the hat of Hermes. Has nothing to do with Scripture. The same hat that the Catholic Pope and all the Catholics wear. It's something that's not found in Scripture, and yet Jerusalem is filled with these titles. So let's go to Jeremiah 51, verse 49, and finish this section up. As Babylon is to fall for the slain of Israel, Jerusalem is going to fall for all the righteous blood that she's ever shed. So, as far as Babylon the slain of all the earth shall fall. Remember, everything first to the Jew, Romans 1. Everything because she holds that golden cup, and the nations of the world have drunk of that same cup through the fornications that she's committed with them, that they will partake of the same thing. The earth will fall because of Jerusalem as well. Characteristic number 8, the whole world hates the whore. Revelation chapter 17. Revelation chapter 17. And I'll start in verse 16. In fact, just one verse, Revelation 17:16. And the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, they shall hate the whore, and shall lay her waste, and naked, and eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Read Joel and all the other prophets and the minor prophets that speak of how Jerusalem will be stripped bare, the abomination that will lay waste, or the armies that will encompass Jerusalem will lay her waste and destroy her and burn her with fire, will take the women and cut them open even with child, and they will not even mourn or even care. Ezekiel chapter 16. Ezekiel chapter 16. Ezekiel 16 and verse 27. Ezekiel 16 verse 27. And see, I have stretched out my hand against you and withdrew your portion, and I gave you up to the desire of those who hate you, the daughters of the Philistines who were ashamed. They were ashamed of your wicked ways. The nations of the earth know that Jerusalem deserves this punishment because it says in Scripture that they have forsaken the Holy Covenant. And these nations, such as we see with Islam of today, have in their beliefs that they will kill them because they deserve it, because they've forsaken God, forsaken Yahweh. And what we're seeing today, brethren, is the beginning of a holy war that is coming. We see Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Jordan, all these Muslim nations are going through turmoil in the last couple, 3-4 weeks. And why? Because they're gearing up towards this last crusade, or this last jihad that is coming upon this earth, in which Christian and Jew alike are going to suffer a Holocaust at Islam, or the hands of this religion. It's two seeds. It comes down to the seed of Jacob and the seed of Esau. Ezekiel chapter 23. Ezekiel chapter 23, verse 28. For thus says the Master Yahweh, see, I am giving you into the hand of those who hate you, and to the hand of those from whom you are being turned, that your soul turned in disgust. The nations that hate her will destroy her. Characteristic number 9. No one will help her during this time of distress. And today, March 29, Tuesday, Glenn Beck on the morning radio show out of Houston, Texas, said, why isn't there a cry? Why isn't there an outcry from the world to help Israel? What's going on? And I wanted to call in and say, Mr. Beck, the reason is because it's the hand of Yahweh. It's prophecy that everyone will hate her, no one will help her. It's because the wife has been rebellious and her husband is going to discipline her. She's going to know the loss of children, the loss of her maidenhood, the loss of her widowhood. In one day she will be a widow without any children to support her. You can read about this in Lamentations 1:7. Lamentations 1:7, and I'll also read Jeremiah chapter 8. Jeremiah chapter 8, verses 20 through 22. Jeremiah 8:20 reads, the harvest is past and the summer is ended, and we have not been saved. For the breach of the daughter of my people I have been broken, and I have grown sad. Astonishment has seized me. Is there no balm in Gilead, or is there no healer there? Why has the healing of the daughter of my people not come? And that's where they're going to say, why aren't we being healed? Why? Because you're not keeping the laws of Moses. You're defiling that land with adulteries and with sin and with perverseness and crookedness, and it needs to stop. Benjamin Netanyahu, Mr. Prime Minister, please do not divide the land. That is another sin against the Most High, which Israel will suffer for. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 19. Jeremiah 10, verse 19 says, woe to me for my breaking, my wound is grievous, but I say, this is my sickness, and I shall bear it. My tent has been ravaged, and all my cords have been broken. My children have gone from me, and they are no more. There is no one to pitch my tents anymore, or no one to set up my curtains. Who is this talking about? It's speaking of Jerusalem. No one's to pitch up her tents, to be there for the festivals. Nobody to take care of the tabernacle, the temple. Nobody there. For the shepherds have become brutish, and they are not seeking Yahweh. Therefore they did not understand, and all their flock is scattered. See, it has come, the voice of report, and a great shaking out of the land to the north, to make the cities of Judah a waste and a habitation of jackals. Jeremiah 15, verses 4 through 6. Jeremiah 15, 4 through 6. And I shall make them for a horror to the kingdoms of the earth, on account of Manasseh, the son of Hezekiah, king of Judah, because of what he did in Jerusalem. For who has compassion on you, O Jerusalem? And that's what I'm saying. Who's going to have compassion on Jerusalem? Certainly not the Muslims. Certainly not Islam. They want to destroy her, as Ezekiel says, and cast her into the sea. Because of what he did in Jerusalem. For nobody has compassion on you, O Jerusalem. And who mourns for you? And who turns aside to ask you how you're doing? Nobody's going to care. They're going to say, just like Henry Kissinger did, Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, under the Nixon administration, when the Yom Kippur War was happening and Israel was about ready to be destroyed, and he declares, "Let the Jews bleed." He himself being a Jew. Let's read Isaiah chapter 47. Let's go back. Isaiah chapter 47, and we'll read verses 6 through 9. Isaiah 47:6 says, "I was angry with my people. I profaned my inheritance, and I gave them into your hand. You showed them no compassion. You made your yoke very heavy on the elderly. And you said, I am a queen forever." Remember Ezekiel 16? She was a queen. She was royalty. She was dressed like a queen, royal blood, because she is. Yahweh is royal, and she was adorned with precious jewels and ornaments. He says she's a queen. And verse 7, "I am a mistress forever, so that you do not take these things to heart, and you did not remember the latter end of them. And now hear this, you who are given to many pleasures, who dwell in complacency, who say in your heart, I am, and there is none but me. I shall not sit as a widow." She's not going to think I'm going to be widowed, because they say they're the people of God. They're the selected people, the house of Judah. While yet there's 12 other tribes out there in the world, ready to come back during this time of great wrath. It says in Ezekiel 11:15. "I do not sit as widow, nor do I know the loss of children. But both of these shall come to you suddenly in one day, the loss of children and widowhood." As I was saying, they shall come upon you in completeness because of your many witchcrafts. That's right. Judah, Jerusalem has Kabbalah. Little men out in Zion Square who are walking around with red threads, and it's part of witchcraft and Kabbalah. And it's evil, it's an abomination in the sight of Yahweh. It needs to stop. "For your numerous and great potent spells." And that's what the Kabbalah is. You can write down Hosea 5:12 through 15. Hosea 5:12 through 15. Also Zechariah chapter 12. Zechariah chapter 12, and I'll read verses 1 through 4. Zechariah 12, 1 through 4 says, "The message of the word of Yahweh against Israel. Yahweh stretching out the heavens and laying the foundations of the earth and forming the spirit of man within him declares, See, I am making Jerusalem a cup," remember, a cup of reeling, "to all the people around, and also against Judah. It is the siege against Jerusalem." And in that day, a messianic idiom, it's referring to the latter days in which we're living, "shall be that I shall make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples." How many times have you seen the presidents of the United States making all these different Camp Davids and all these other meetings trying to bring peace to that land, and they can't? It's because of Zechariah 12, 1 through 4. "A very heavy stone, all lifting it shall be severely injured, and all the nations of the earth shall be gathered against it." The Armageddon War we're talking about comes down into Jerusalem, into the valley of Jehoshaphat, it says. "In that day, declares Yahweh, I shall smite every horse with bewilderment and the rider with madness. In the house of Judah I open my eyes, but every horse of the peoples I smite with blindness." Characteristic number 10, real quick. Jerusalem is a land of violence. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 23. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 23. And as I'm reading this, if you're taking notes, you can write down Ezekiel 8, chapter 7, 8, verse 17, and also Ezekiel 12, verse 19. Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 23 says, "Make a chain, for the land has been filled with crimes of blood, and the city has been filled with violence." This is what I'm saying, filled with violence. fact, I have